What do you think? Should the world still see Prince Andrew as just another fallen royal, or as a man whose arrogance and scandals finally caught up with him? Do you believe his former maid's shocking revelations are only the tip of the iceberg? Or have we already seen the full truth of the Duke of York? Share your thoughts in the comments, because this story isn't just about one prince, it's about the hidden world inside Buckingham Palace. And if you want more untold royal secrets, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. One of those people was Charlotte Briggs, a young maid who entered royal service at just 21. To her, the chance to work at Buckingham Palace was a dream. She thought she would be part of something extraordinary, close to the grandeur of royalty. Instead, she quickly realized she had stepped into a nightmare. Serving Prince Andrew was not a privilege. It was torment. Years later, she broke her silence, telling the Daily Mail exactly what she thought. "I don't give a toss what Prince Andrew feels. He is a horrible, nasty man." Her words were raw, unfiltered, and filled with the weight of someone who had endured humiliation day after day. She once described him as lazy, entitled, and quick to erupt over the smallest inconveniences. What might seem trivial to others became obsessions for him, and curtains were a perfect example. At Buckingham Palace, heavy drapes that any adult could shut with ease were transformed into a bizarre loyalty test for staff. If even the faintest shaft of light slipped through, it could set him off. He would storm out of his office in a fury, his shouts echoing down the grand corridors, berating employees until they were left shaken and in tears. But his eccentricities didn't end there. The Duke of York maintained a collection of 72 teddy bears, along with a stuffed hippo and a black panther. To him, they weren't mere childhood relics. They were sacred possessions. Each one had a designated spot carefully mapped out on laminated instruction sheets. Staff were expected to memorize the layout and arrange them with absolute precision. Certain bears were to stand at the back, others in front, while his two favorites had to be positioned at his bedside. For the employees tasked with this ritual, it was less about toys and more about navigating a surreal display of entitlement and control. Charlotte Briggs recalled being trained for an entire day on this bizarre ritual. The bears had to be arranged at night, removed before he slept, and restored again by dawn. A single mistake could bring down his fury. To outsiders, this seemed comical, a grown prince clinging to childhood relics. But for those who lived under his demands, it was humiliating. Life around Prince Andrew was like walking on eggshells. Compared to Prince Charles, Prince Edward, or even Prince Philip, whose staff remembered as respectful, Andrew was cruel. He treated employees as disposable, people whose only value was in reminding him of his power. But this behavior didn't begin in adulthood. It had been there from the very start. From childhood, Prince Andrew stood apart from his siblings. Where Charles was quiet and bookish, and Anne was stubborn but capable, Andrew's personality leaned toward arrogance and cruelty. Even as a toddler, he loved mocking the Queen's guards, pulling faces at them and growing angry when they refused to react. Animals often became his targets. He was seen kicking royal dogs and striking horses' legs with sticks for amusement. His behavior horrified the royal grooms so much that one day they shoved him headfirst into a pile of horse manure. It was a grotesque punishment, but they believed he had earned it. He bullied his younger brother Edward, snatching cakes away, shoving him, and turning every interaction into domination. At school, classmates nicknamed him Baby Grumpling for his tantrums and the Snigger for his mocking laughter. Even as he grew older, the cruelty intensified. Staff recalled him yanking at women's dresses, shoving faces into food, and sabotaging camping tents to leave companions soaked and miserable. Inside the palace, the staff didn't see a mischievous child. They saw a spoiled tyrant in miniature. By the time he was old enough to wear a uniform, his reputation was already fixed. He wasn't admired like Charles, respected like Anne, or even tolerated like Edward. He was the prince no one wanted to deal with. As he matured, his sense of entitlement only grew darker. By the 1990s, his public mask was slipping. Reports emerged of shady financial ties and cash-for-access schemes, where he allegedly arranged business meetings in exchange for large sums of money. The palace tried to bury these stories, but whispers followed him everywhere. His private life only fueled the tabloids. After divorcing Sarah Ferguson, Andrew flaunted relationships with women half his age. His obsession with young models and socialites earned him the nickname Randy Andy. Drivers recalled seeing a stream of women entering and leaving his residences, sometimes 10 in a single day. Then came the friendship that would destroy him, Jeffrey Epstein. Even after Epstein's conviction for sex crimes, Andrew was seen walking with him in Central Park, laughing as if nothing had happened. The photograph of the two men together shocked the world. This wasn't a distant acquaintance. This was the Queen's son keeping company with a convicted sex offender. And then came Virginia Giuffre. In 2015, she accused Epstein of trafficking her as a teenager, and she alleged that Prince Andrew was one of the men she had been forced to have sex with. The evidence included the infamous photograph. Andrew with his arm around a 17-year-old Virginia, with Ghislaine Maxwell smiling in the background. Prince Andrew denied every allegation. He even claimed that the infamous photograph of him with Virginia Giuffre, with Ghislaine Maxwell smiling in the background, was fake. But experts examined it carefully and found no signs of tampering. Meanwhile, the evidence kept piling up. Flight logs, witnesses, and photographs placed him alongside Jeffrey Epstein in London, New York, and the Caribbean. By 2019, the pressure became unbearable. In an attempt to clear his name, Andrew agreed to sit down with BBC Newsnight. What was meant to be his redemption turned into one of the most disastrous interviews in royal history. He insisted that on the night Giuffre said she met him at a nightclub, he couldn't have been there because he was at Pizza Express in Woking with his daughter. The strangely specific alibi became a global joke. Worse still, when confronted with Giuffre's description of him sweating heavily, Andrew claimed he had a medical condition at the time that prevented him from perspiring. The bizarre excuse destroyed his credibility, but perhaps the most damaging part wasn't the excuses. It was his lack of empathy. Instead of expressing sympathy for Epstein's victims, Andrew focused on how the scandal had affected him. He even admitted he stayed with Epstein after his conviction because it was convenient. To millions watching, his arrogance was undeniable. The backlash was immediate. Charities severed ties. Universities stripped him of honorary positions. Military groups removed him from their ranks. Even the Queen could no longer shield him. Days later, Andrew announced he was stepping back from royal duties, an exile in all but name. In 2021, Virginia Giuffre filed a civil lawsuit in the United States, accusing him of sexual assault. Facing trial, Andrew settled in 2022 for a reported $12 million. The palace insisted it wasn't an admission of guilt, but the public saw it as proof he had bought his way out of justice. Many suspected the Queen herself had quietly helped fund the deal to protect the monarchy. By then, his downfall was complete. At Prince Philip's funeral, he walked alone. At the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, he was banned from the balcony. And when King Charles III ascended the throne, Andrew was stripped of his final titles and privileges, reduced to a disgraced ghost of the royal family. The humiliation was undeniable at the 2023 coronation. While his siblings appeared in full ceremonial robes, Andrew shuffled in a plain suit, ignored by the family and the public alike. Even Prince Harry, with all his controversies, seemed more accepted. At Easter service that year, the cameras captured him isolated again, left behind as Charles and William greeted the crowd. The once proud Duke of York had become a ghost of the royal family. Yet even in exile, stories from staff continued to emerge. They described him leaving piles of laundry scattered across his rooms, demanding baths drawn at precise temperatures, and ordering valets to iron his shoelaces. Each absurd detail revealed the same truth. Prince Andrew had never grown up. He was still the spoiled child, the entitled bully, and now the disgraced Duke. So what do you think of Prince Andrew's dramatic fall from grace? Was it long overdue, or do you believe he deserves a second chance? Share your thoughts below. And if you want more untold royal stories and hidden scandals, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because there's always more behind palace walls. Thanks for watching.